Thank you. And it's always cool to have people in the chat mention where they're tuning in from. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We're going to have some fun talking about lasers and LEDs. We're going to be talking about the technical details between lasers and LEDs. Also, I want to get into EMR, electromagnetic radiation, and explain a little bit about that, because I've had a lot of people asking about that over the last few sessions, so we'll go for it. So first of all, I just want to explain my tie. My tie has a plug on it, and the tie says the answer is more power. I'm actually plugged into, this is an earthly source. It's limited. I'm plugged into a heavenly source, I believe. And so tonight, you're getting the best that I can do. Plus. Anyways, I wanted to get into the differences between lasers and LEDs. And so I see we've got Dallas joining us, and I'm just going to put my chat up on the side here so I can see it. We got Toronto, we got Louisiana. Hey, great stuff. And let's see who else we got down here. Alaska. Yep, I know some more people in Virginia. Well, welcome everybody from wherever you're coming from. And I know that today we have, from the follow-up last week, I was on the air Tuesday afternoon in Buffalo with a special interview done on a very large radio station or large coverage radio station called WDCX 99.5. And from there, there's been a number of listeners that have joined in, watchers to our program. So in anywhere from the GTA, Greater Toronto area to Buffalo and beyond, as that radio station has quite the reach, including around the world because it's on live, so on streaming. So I got a chance to get interviewed by Neil Boron, really neat guy, and I was able to see how we were able to help him in his situation. He was in rough shape because of COVID. I knew him for quite some time, and I reached out to him and said, you got to use one of our lights for your lungs, because his blood oxygen was sitting at around 80% and not doing very well that way. And very quickly he was able to turn around and get better by using the palm light on his lungs, front and back. So tonight, we welcome all the WDCX listeners. We also have somebody coming in from Burlington, Ontario, Cleveland, Ohio. Yep, and I think I better get into the webinar, so let's go for it. So tonight, we will have a video in just a moment, and I just got to turn your host there, Jim, so you can take over. Let's see who else I've got while we're just waiting for the video to queue up. Dallas, Oregon, welcome. Well, that's an interesting NOTL. Now, for those who don't know what NOTL stands for, is Niagara on the Lake. So welcome to our webinar tonight. PBM stands for Photobiomodulation. Photo being light, bio being biology, and light, well, light coming from some kind of source. In this case, PBM is used to help stimulate healing in the body, whether it's an LED, whether it's a laser, whether it's the sun, but that light
comes through the skin layers, and actually the cells are able to absorb that light, converting it to energy. And then there's a host of different processes that are stimulated because of that light. So you can speed up healing. You can do different things that is very beneficial for the cells themselves, for healing, for reduction of inflammation, and a host of other things. Kerber USA is a company that we have set up to promote healing for the US and around the world. We would like to see this technology help a lot of people. We use LED technology where we can provide high amounts of light into the body, and that stimulates healing. I'd like to introduce you to the SunPowerLED Palm Ultimate. This device here has the most power of the series of devices. This light can produce a huge amount of light that can enter into the body and help speed up that healing. In this device, we have two different wavelengths. It's 660 nanometer, and as you can see, it's very bright, but it's very effective. You will cause a systemic effect with this wavelength of light. The other wavelength is 810. It's not very visible, but it penetrates very deep, and that can help as well reach the target that you're trying to reach. The main part about this light is that we have the power behind it and the large surface area that can reach very deep into the body. We believe that our product is the most powerful LED cluster under the sun. We have specification of this device of 150 milliwatts per square centimeter, and that is over this entire area of 40 square centimeters. It also provides a wall of light that comes through the skin and is able to reach depths that have never been able to be done before with other light products on the market. There's an interesting biblical passage in Malachi 4:2 that talks about the healing that comes from the rays of the sun. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide healing with these rays. PBM has also been shown in various studies to be able to help promote healing in wounds such as diabetic ulcers, venous ulcers, and other areas where cuts or burns or other types of wounds are on the skin level. If you have any questions about PBM and how our light device, the SunPowerLED Palm series, can help you, please reach out to us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
All right, so I'm just going to do one little thing here that helps it possible for me to show you a slideshow here. Okay, so we're going to talk about lasers, and I hope that should be a full screen for everybody. That's good. Okay, so lasers. Lasers is a coherent beam, and I think what I'm going to do, just stop for a second and advance this so I can show something. Well, okay, we'll start here. So on the left-hand side of this slide, you will see an LED that's mounted on a circuit board. And what's really cool about this, what's really cool about this is you'll see that the light is spraying over my whole finger. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a very culminated light or coherent light that is right down on a spot. That is something that can harm your eyes. So many dentists who are familiar with laser technology, who have used laser technology, absolutely must use safety glasses in their use of their lasers. But when it comes to LEDs, LEDs are the light is very sprayed out very wide. So there's no hot spots that can possibly hit the back of the eye. And I'm just going to, for a moment, stop my share here just so I can show this. If I take a laser source, this happens to be a laser pen, and it has an LED in it, and it has a laser in it, okay? And so the easiest way that you can see this is I'm just going to make me a little darker. It's a lot easier to see. So this is a laser from the backside shining right at you, and it's a point of light. So if it turns out that this was the back of your eye, that's one very, very hot spot right there, okay? And it doesn't matter if you were on the other side of the room, it's still possible that you could get your eyes damaged by that laser that they use in the practice. But when it comes to an LED, I'm going to hold it closer, and then you'll see as I pull it back, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I'll show you this way. So there's the laser, as you can see, right? And here's the LED. See how wide the LED is spraying from my light source. So if I pull it back, you can see it's covering a larger and larger area. So it may have this, if I put a measurement device right against this, I would get a certain amount of energy. In this case, on this particular device, it's about 5 milliwatts of light power. And when I put the 5 milliwatts of light power on there, it's either 5 milliwatts coming out from the LED, or it's 5 milliwatts from the laser. Now, some would say, well, since it's such a pointed source, it's going to go really deep, and when you point it at that spot, it's going to go right back to that joint. You know, let's say if you're talking of a hip joint or a hip joint or a shoulder joint, when you're going to be putting that laser, that's going to be one spot that's going to go right there. But that's not what happens when it comes to light properties. So when light starts passing through air, let's say first air, it doesn't interfere with it. So that's why when I pull this back, it doesn't matter how far away I am, it stays the same size because it's culminated light. But when it hits tissue, it scatters in all directions. So you saw how small that dot was. But when I take this laser, and there's the laser right there, and if I put it against my finger, whoops, I gotta go up to the camera here. Okay, you see how even it's illuminating the whole area. That's the laser. Look, that's the laser coming out of there. And yet my whole finger is getting illuminated right now, okay? With an LED, the LED hits the surface, and as you can see, actually it's probably easier to show it this way. See, as I pull away, it very quickly gets larger and larger as well, because of what I've told you about. But let's compare 5 milliwatts from an LED versus 5 milliwatts from a laser, okay? So there is a laser. Now this has to be only the red wavelength, the 635. And here is 5 milliwatts from an LED. Now this LED happens to be white, but what's happening is only the red is getting through, and even with only the red getting red and a little bit of yellow is getting through, you've seen that it's the same. There's the laser, there's the LED, and there's same power out of each one, and it's no difference between the two. What we did is at the University of Buffalo, we did a very large ball that measures light, and that ball it has an opening on the top, and the ball is totally closed in. So it's totally round, totally closed in. It's absolutely dark inside. No light can penetrate anywhere except through the opening in the top. And so what we did is we took a laser device, okay, and we kind of like a powerful laser, not like one of these little LED devices, and we shone it at that spot, the opening, and we were able to measure 5 watts of power going into that hole. Okay, so we put a measurement device inside. And what's really cool about this special ball, it's called a culminating sphere. It's expensive equipment that I've purchased over the years, but it's a very expensive piece of equipment that is super reflective in the inside. So it reflects light, whether it's a sharp beam or whether it's a spread out light. It reflects it everywhere. So that light just bounces all around in this sphere. So whether it comes in as a laser or whether it comes in as an LED. So if I did this, probably this will work. If I came in, yeah, there's a laser, or it came in as an LED. Doesn't matter whether it's a small spot or a large spot, you'll get an accurate measurement. Doesn't matter, culminated light, whether it comes from a laser or whether it comes from an LED. What's really cool about that is then the next step that we did. So what we did next is we put one piece of steak across the top of the opening, and we put the laser on top of it, and we measured how much light is going into the sphere. And with some very accurate equipment, we were able to measure how much light is coming through, how much energy is coming through. And we did that with laser, and we did it with LED. So, and I just wonder here, yeah, okay. So laser LED, and we had 5 watts from a laser and 5 watts from an LED, and the measurement inside was identical. So that was at the 1050 nanometer. Now I can tell you that, so treatment-wise, we're getting really, really good results with, let's say, our super palm, well, all the palm devices, but with our super palm, it has just over 5 optical watts of power in 1050 nanometer. Now this is the 635, that's the bright red. And here's the 1050 nanometer. I look at it and I can't see anything. But if you look at the screen here, you can see the purplish dots, not the red dot off to the side here. That's just an indicator. But these purplish dots, that's the 1050. But to my eyes, I can't see it at all. Anyways, we put it on the top. By the way, if I said 635, this is 660 nanometer here. And the other one is 1050, okay? So 1050 nanometer has the ability to penetrate much deeper. So we put that on top of one steak, so 3/4 of an inch thick steak, and seeing how much light was coming through. And what we were able to see is that we got a certain measurement. When we took a laser, we did the same thing and we got the same reading. Now the difference is no difference between those two. But when it comes to cost, a laser, like a 1050 nanometer laser with 5 optical watts, you can be paying anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 or more for 1050 nanometer. Yet the palm device that we've created with LEDs, very high power, is in the $1,900. So quite a substantial price decrease to be able to get the same effect. Now, we then did 1 steak, we did 2 steak, did the light measurements, did 3 steak, how much went through 3 steaks. So that's 2 1/4 inches of meat, and see how much light came through. And our 5 watt LED device had the same energy coming through as the laser device. Now we did do we did where we had sorry, we did that with a totally culminated beam, which means it stays as a spot, like you saw, a small spot. So we tried it right against the stake, and didn't matter if we were 3 feet away from the stake, as long as we shone it towards the middle of the stake or brought it right up, it made no difference. We also put a diffuser on there which diffused the beam, which apparently is supposed to make it easier and get more depth, but in reality we were getting the same levels coming through. So this is another thing that I want to show you is with an LED device, you can see the with our SunPowerLED, what we do have is a lot of LEDs closer together. We don't have them spread apart. So what happens is that the light overlaps itself. So if you can, I'm hopeful that you can see this okay, but where the line is here, there's a treatment surface of where it's actually hitting the skin. And because each one of these LEDs are overlapping each other, because we do not have little tiny points of light, we're overlapping each other, we're actually getting a very even amount of light. We call this our wall of light. So it's kind of like if I can call it a wall of light, like the whole area is illuminated. It's not just a few points of light, okay? So I'm going to just do this. So in the lower part of your screen, you see where, and by the way, when you do overlap the light and you have such a high amount of light at the surface, that really helps for the penetration. But when you have the LEDs further apart from each other, then it doesn't matter what, the depth is much less, okay? So I'll go to my next slide here. Okay, in this case, what we've done is we've, on the left-hand side, you see, though this was our earlier, this was my earlier one where I showed you that in this case, on the left-hand side, you see that the LED, I put my finger right on the LED, and on the right side, right on top of the laser, and we had started with 3 milliwatts of power on both of them, and they are exactly the same as far as you can see visually that there's a lot of scattering going on. I'm not saying that lasers are not good, okay? They have their place. But when it comes to using it for a lot of treatment modalities on the body, LEDs really shine. When it comes to, let's say, treatment inside the mouth under dental conditions, lasers have their definite applications, okay? So here's showing you the difference between, let's say, 660 nanometer and 810 nanometer. And on the left, this is taking a camera, and what you're seeing is that it's just going through the thickness of my cheek. On the right-hand side, it's actually passing right through my cheek and my gum using 810 nanometer. Now, if we showed 1050 nanometer, you would even see it deeper, like more coming through even further. So that's the longer the wavelength, generally the deeper the penetration. So the ability for LEDs to cover a large area makes for the ability to treat large areas evenly. So in this case, this was boiling water on my, unfortunately this was quite a while ago, but unfortunately, my granddaughter, my son-in-law just poured boiling water into a bowl and for her to mix the jello. And this is one time where she decided to do something slightly different, and that was to pull the bowl towards herself instead of just stirring it where it was. And it flipped, the bowl flipped and poured boiling water down the leg. So what you're seeing is the burns that occurred because of the boiling water, second and third degree burns. But they immediately, after they went to the hospital and came back with some cream, there was a lot of pain involved. But as soon as light is used in the red and near infrared light, there was no more pain, even on day 0. What was really cool is you can see by day 6, the heel, like it's scabbing up, and had fully scabbed up and covered the whole area. And by day 8, the scabs fell off. And within a month, I wished I had that picture, but within a month, it was just discolored in the area. And 2 years later, there's no visible scars. So the ability to use light over a large area comes into beautiful applications when it comes to, we developed a helmet that allows a person to treat the whole brain. We also have a mini canopy, which I'll show you in another slide. And also we have the large canopy, which treats a large section of the body with some pretty significant energy. And still, all our devices are based on anywhere from 100 to 180 milliwatts of optical power per square centimeter. So when you're under the canopy, it feels just like you're getting from the sun, because the sun gives us 100 milliwatts per square centimeter of light in all bands, whereas we're there's some UV, there's blue, green, yellow, red, near infrared and far infrared, that whole mix coming from the sun at 100 milliwatts per square centimeter. In this case, we've got all of the 100 milliwatts per square centimeter in the wavelength that is chosen, whether it be 660 or 810 or even 1050 on our additional premium device. Okay, I had different ones asking me lately about concussions, so I just want to play this one video where this individual where this individual had a stroke, the boy Tyson, and we were able to use the helmet to do the treatment. So I'll play this short video.
Tyson?
Hello.
So Tyson, what happened?
Well, I went to like a cadet group, so it's like kind of like you learn skills and stuff, and I fell and hit my head. I got a really bad concussion, so I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't read. If I stood up for too long, I'd get a really bad headache. And we were trying different things like oils and stuff like that. And then my mom's friend recommended this, the red light therapy.
Yeah.
And so we went over here and we tried it, and straight away I felt results after it was done. My headache cleared up like quite a bit. And that day I was able to pick up a book and read, when before I couldn't even read a sentence. I'd get a really bad
And when
headache.
did this happen?
Happened, I think, last week, Friday.
Okay, last week.
It was Thursday that
Thursday, last
so it was a
week,
week
Thursday.
ago.
Yeah.
A week ago, Thursday.
Yeah,
And
he had like severe memory loss. He still doesn't remember
Yeah.
that day at all.
Right?
So I don't know if he'll gain that memory back. But we took him to Mac, and they did a CT scan and that, because he was continuously asking the same questions, like, what happened? Why does my head hurt? And like, it was on a reel, like probably every couple of minutes we tell him what happened. He's like, oh, that would be why my head hurts. I don't remember going to cadets.
Yeah.
And then he would ask it all over again, like, how come my head hurts? So like he probably did it hundreds of times. So they did a CT scan and they didn't see anything on the CT
And that's at
scan.
McMaster University.
Yeah, at McMaster.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he's got to follow up with a neurologist in a few weeks because it was that bad. But
Right.
he's
Did you have any double vision?
No, not that I remember of that day.
But you couldn't read a book and
No.
you couldn't watch a video or.
No.
Oh no, he had to be in a
I
dark
could,
room.
I had to really lie down. If I stood up and tried to move around, I'd get a bad headache. I tried reading a book. I got, I think, a sentence, and then I got a split and a headache again. So.
Okay.
Because he really likes reading, so he was hoping to, because he was bored. He gets bored because he was lying around in a dark room listening to audiobooks. But yeah, the minute he started reading it, just
Okay. And so you did a light treatment under the helmet,
Yeah.
and that was 1 minute of the bright red and 3 minutes.
Of like the one you can't see.
Right, that's the near infrared.
Yeah.
And so 1 minute and 3 minutes, so 4 minutes of treatment.
And it was amazing. Like after the 4 minutes, I could tell straight away my headache was gone. I just overall felt better.
yeah. So you were still tired and stuff. You
Yeah.
didn't read yesterday yet, did you?
No, I didn't read yesterday.
Or you didn't read on the day you got the red light
Yeah.
therapy. Yesterday you started reading.
Yeah, I tried it and I'm like, hey, I can easily read. I don't get a headache at all.
Well, we
And-
could tell a difference because he was really subdued. Like he's been really, like just hanging out in his room, really quiet and not.
Right.
And now he's like, whoop! So I'm like.
Oh, that is
he-
excellent.
He's definitely back in that sense.
And we're going to do just one more final treatment
We're
here,
gonna do another
probably.
one, yeah, because
And just to make sure that things are covered. But
yeah.
Yeah.
well, thank you very much for being on our video,
Yeah.
Tyson, and really neat how we were able to see this. This is going to tell a lot of people what light therapy can do.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
very grateful. Yeah, we were very, very blessed and pleased that we found this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all the best. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is just general other applications for healing. This individual had swung a pickaxe and had cut his tendon right through. They said it was going to be 6 to 9 months before he'd be able to walk. You can see the tendon cut through. It actually was reattached, and they had to, it fell apart, and they had to do another operation to reattach the tendon. And so at 2 weeks, you can see how it's looking pretty good. The swelling was down. 3 weeks. He was doing daily treatments 3 times a day. And the cool part is you can see the amount of movement that he has at 3 weeks.
There you go.
Still the up and down movement was restricted, but because he was able to have this happen so quickly, the healing, he didn't lose, his muscles didn't atrophy. And here's at 4 weeks, him walking, which is pretty neat, that instead of the 6 to 9 months. Okay. So this is a diabetic ulcer, and you can see that they were going to amputate the foot. And here's 2 months later, they canceled the surgery after 1 week of light therapy, and that was using the palm device. And here's 2 months later, it was down to that size, and another 2 months, it was totally healed. So for other burns, I showed you an example. This is 5 weeks after light therapy treatment. This was a different type of PBM source, but still shows benefit. I was able to use large area of light this goes way back, back in 2010, to help speed up healing and reduce pain in Haiti. This is our mini canopy, and this is something that can do a larger area as well, and that makes it very easy for big areas of treatment. Okay, so anyways, that gives you a little flavor, but I hope the other thing I was going to discuss is EMR, electromagnetic radiation. And what happens is some people have said, LEDs, there was a concern about LEDs being bad, because that's been floating around. And the reason LEDs can be bad, if you buy a light bulb from a dollar store, the light bulb will actually flash at you just like the fluorescent lights. And actually it can be even worse then because it's so intense. That's one thing. So the LEDs flash at you. The other thing that happens is that a lot of LED bulbs, when they're not made, they can be made not well, or by your choosing. If you end up with a bulb with a high Kelvin rating, it'll be very blue, a bluish white, very bright looking. But the problem with that is, again, that spectrum is not beneficial to you in the evening hours. So if you happen to have one of these bulbs screwed into your living room and you have it turned on, that bright white with the blue is actually messing with your circadian rhythm. You only want that blue, bright blue, first thing in the morning. That helps start your clock, so to speak, or restart your clock to that time. People with SAD, seasonal affective disorder, will find that they've improved dramatically in their feelings by having that bright blue or that cool white first thing in the morning. So they could just literally have a 100-watt light bulb LED, one of the better ones like Philips or something, with white, and that in first thing in the morning, like for 10 minutes close to them, and it'll help the clock in their body to set. And the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be looking at a blue screen. There's actually, you can buy a yellowish tinge glasses that'll block the blue from your computer or your cell phone, or you can actually put some of the newer devices, you can actually on your cell phone, you can set it to night use, and it will reduce the amount of blue. Things will look more reddish or more orangey when you're looking at them. You still can make things out, but it's that blue has been significantly reduced, and thereby it's not going to cause you to get your clock messed up. And if you do, that can be, you have poor sleep habits, all those kinds of things. So it's just one way you can mess yourself up with LED bulbs. So be careful that way. But when it comes to our device, this device, first of all, we're using the red spectrum, so you don't have to worry about the blue side of things. But when you switch it on, it's actually a very continuous amount of light that's coming from it. So it's not flashing at you, it's actually continuous light, not going up and down. It's very much like the old incandescent bulbs, and they were actually pretty good for your home in that they didn't turn on and off. You got 60 cycle going to the bulb. So, but what happens is the bulb warms up, like the hot wire, the tungsten element, doesn't change as rapidly. So it still goes up and down a bit. So there's a little bit of, every time the sine wave goes through 0 volts, there's a little dimming, but it's going bright and dim, but it's not a harsh high on, high off, high on, off, high on, off. Or it's like if you pass by the Christmas lights during Christmas, you'll see them flickering at you. That's what happens with LEDs if they're not worked with or in the application that you're looking for. But our devices, FDA registered devices, are made in such a way that it's a continuous wave of light coming from it, not pulsing. On special occasions, there's applications for pulsing, and that has to do with the brain, working with the brain. And if somebody wants to call me on that or question me on that, they can always email me. But not only are we looking at continuous light, but also I feed this with a power supply, okay? And that power supply is it's a medical grade. And what that means is it is very, very noiseless, so to speak, in the electronic spectrum. So there's very little emission coming off of it. All the, like, light is a form of electromagnetic radiation, but what we're talking about is radiation like microwaves and radio waves that are not so healthy for you. But because of the way I'm running this off of a DC source, it's super even. It's not pulsing. There's very, very little electrical noise coming through this. And our device has a aluminum board, which the way we've made it, even the traces don't radiate EMR that can be effective or actually not good for you. But so this is a very, very quiet source. So if you're one of the ones that have one of these EMR meters and you pull it up to a cell phone, you just hear it, wow, 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 all sorts of electronic noise is coming from it. You put it up to this, it's pretty silent. So that's what we've done with this device. That's why in this case, with these wavelengths, we're using it's very, very safe, as well as when we're talking of the rainbow, the UV spectrum is on one end of the spectrum, blue. The opposite end of the spectrum is the red and the near infrared. And the red and the near infrared is extremely safe. That's why, well, we're in that spectrum because not only is it safe, but the big reason is those wavelengths can penetrate into the body. So when I turn off the light here and make it just so that's a little more visible, you can see the light going right through my hand here. Just and if you could see, this camera can't pick it up, but if you could see the near infrared, this is the Super Palm with the 1050. If you could see that with this camera, you would see it just bursting forth through this area of my hand with this 1050 nanometer. So so we do have we have the professional, which is all three. There's a professional, then there's the ultimate, which has the 660 810 nanometer. As you can see in this picture, you can see the 810, and then the other version, which is our Super Palm, is the one that has the 660 nanometer and 1050. And people ask us, why would you have 1050 nanometer, or why would you have 660 yet if 810 and 1050 penetrates deeper? Well, it turns out that the 660 is very valuable. It allows the cells can pick up that energy in the blood, and so that's carried much further than the area that you're actually treating. So if you're treating this area, the blood flow is actually going much further than the area that you're actually treating. So 660 nanometer is very beneficial. And then when it comes to the 1050 or 810 or 1050, that penetrates very much deeper, doesn't get absorbed as much by the blood, but can reach the target. So it can go into the brain. 660 nanometer can actually go through the skull. It can go through the bone. A bone is easier to transmit through than even breast tissue. But when it comes to, so you can help with red light on different things on the body to actually go through the skull and help the blood on the inside wall of the skull. And not only that, it can help the lymphatic system, so that the lymphatic system can help drain the area. And so blood goes in. This is anywhere in the body, the blood can go in and the toxins can leave through the lymphatic system. So it's a good idea then to also treat, when you're talking lymphatics, to follow the lymphatic drain. So if you have questions, please pop them up here and we'll start answering some of these questions. I will show you, here's the helmet right here. And when I turn it on, that's the red 660 nanometer, very, very bright. Okay. Very bright. It is, and also, but it's not harmful to the eyes. And this is the 810. You can see the 810 here, turning on and off, and that's the one that can actually penetrate deeper. So we basically have 10 of these, 10 of the palm units around the whole brain for the helmet. People ask me, well, can this do the same? Yes, you can. So you can treat different spots on the brain with the SunPowerLED palm devices on different spots on the brain. And for concussions, question came up from Marg, can the helmet be used to treat PTSD? Yes, they've been able to show that it can help with treatment of PTSD, strokes, concussions. We've been able to see directly strokes and concussions being helped. As we played the one video there, I've had other kids with concussions, and they notice right away the difference. It's amazing. The one kid that we had, he first of all saw double vision, and he had a patch on one eye. This is about a week after the incident, and he got his first treatment. And when he did, so he did the treatment. 2 days later, came back for the second treatment, and he wasn't wearing the patch. And he said to me, he says, "Yeah, the vision cleared up. The focus came back." But he said, "I can't that's a little fuzzy on the far wall. I can't read that." He did the helmet treatment for 4 minutes. And right after that, he came out of the room and he says, "Oh, that's clear over there right now." It's absolutely crazy that light can have that kind of impact. Jeff is asking, Tom, did you publish the studies for depth of penetration? Yes, well, we will be publishing that. And we did that, Jeff, by the way, we did that with 660, 810 nanometer, and 1050. And measuring all three wavelengths, we saw that the measurements between, once we adjusted for the fact of the power, whatever power level the laser had, because in one case we only had a 500 milliwatt laser for 810, but we multiplied that by 10, whatever reading we got with the 500 milliwatt 810 nanometer, and we had exactly the same reading, pretty much, as the palm device. So it's pretty neat. Pain post-surgery, it depends where there's a question here from Susan. Thank you, Susan, for your questioning. Question, is the helmet good for pain post-surgery? And I guess it depends where that pain is, but it doesn't matter where you have in the body. It's pretty neat. If you can do light treatment before the surgery, that'll even help as well, but even after. So I do have the follow-up question mentioning that it's a skin graft. Really helps to help on nerves and reducing any inflammation that's causing the pain, as well as in a way, I can't explain why, but almost like resetting the nerves. So it's pretty neat. Maurice is asking me about, do you have info on amyloid plaque in the brain? Okay. I'm sorry, I can't say I have, but I think if you want to check a little bit about that, you can go into our research page on the research tab, go down the tab and go to search for amyloid plaque, and I believe you'll see there probably is 1 or 2 studies showing something about amyloid plaque, I would imagine. A question from Kimberly. Kimberly, thank you for asking the question. I just ordered a Biomax 900 and I'm waiting shipment. Will this webinar address this device? I'm sorry, I can get back to you on looking about your device. We do have a comparison page of different devices just to get an idea. I mean, I can't compare every last one, and a lot of times the manufacturers won't actually measure the specifications, like give you accurate readings, or there's a lot of Chinese devices that have been made in China. We make ours in North America, and so we control every aspect of the manufacturing, and we're using the very good quality LEDs and everything else that we're putting together, but we manufacture them in North America. And so there are other devices out there that are manufactured in China, and they are not ashamed to put specifications out there that are not even close to real amounts of power. And there's a little bit of deception going on as well. Maybe not a little, maybe a lot, because I've seen ones that have said, you know, the model number is 1400W. And then they'll say, well, 1400 watts. And it's not even close to being accurate. The LEDs themselves are a certain amount of inefficient. So when you're talking of LEDs, you might only, if you put in 10 watts of power, you may only get 2.5 watts of power out. They may be anywhere from 25% to 50%, depending on the temperature, depending on the wavelength, depending on a number of factors, the LED quality, as to what kind of power. Optical power. Optical power is what goes in. It's not what's rated on the adapter. So even if they said that they have a 50-watt adapter, they may only be using 5 electrical watts of that for actually powering their device. So what's on the little nameplate does not necessarily tell you what is real coming out of the device. Okay. So I think I've covered the questions for tonight, and we're up to that 8 o'clock mark. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This has been great that you've been able to see some of our equipment, and also how lasers and LEDs differ. And just one more thing for the real techies out there. I have very specialized equipment that allows me to measure exactly what the wavelength is. So I can look at this particular device, and this is an 850 nanometer LED. So you see it pretty wide. Sorry, I'll try it this way. So you see it going up and over and down, and the width of the beam, or the width of the wavelengths that it's producing, is in through this area. If we had a laser, it would just be like a line straight up and down. That would be the difference. But with all my devices, I can measure the wavelengths very accurately. I can measure the amount of power that's coming out of the device with the equipment that we have. So we're not buying a $100 light meter off of Amazon to measure the intensity from the sun. It's very specialized equipment that allows us to know exactly what we're getting for each wavelength of power, or what the power is for each wavelength. And so that's why I know with the devices that we listed that the power that's coming out of it, optical power that's coming out, very even, but very powerful. And so there's no hot spots, and that allows for you to get deeper into the body without overheating any spot of area with the energy that we have. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Have a great week, and we're going to call it quits for now. May you guys all be richly blessed, and hopefully you can help those that have our equipment already. I hope you can help many more people with your light. All the best, and feel free to contact us at info@sunpowerled.com. Bye for now.